Narcissism, perhaps one of the most discussed and often misunderstood psychological traits, is a concept deeply rooted in the modern world. It is often cast aside as an insult, yet its origins stretch deep into the very essence of humanity. From ancient mythology to contemporary psychology, narcissism has been examined as a characteristic that is both destructive and at times essential for survival and success. Thinkers such as Robert Greene, with his profound understanding of human nature, have illuminated how narcissism manifests in individuals and how we can confront its influence in both our personal lives and professional spheres. Let us embark on this journey to explore narcissism, an enchanting yet dangerous characteristic that shapes how we interact with the world around us. The term narcissism finds its roots in Greek mythology, where Narcissus, a young man, became enamored with his own reflection and ultimately met his death, consumed by self-obsession. In psychological terms, narcissism is defined as an excessive preoccupation with oneself, an inflated sense of self-importance, and an insatiable need for admiration and recognition. It is marked by arrogance, a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, and a relentless desire for attention. However, thinkers like Robert Greene, Sigmund Freud, and Carl Jung offer a more nuanced perspective on narcissism, asserting that it exists on a spectrum. At one end, we find healthy narcissism, the confidence and ambition necessary to achieve greatness. At the other lies malignant narcissism, a destructive and manipulative force capable of dismantling both the individual and, in some cases, entire societies. This duality is what makes narcissism both a captivating and perilous aspect of human nature. It is a reminder that while a measure of self-love is required to drive one's ambitions and achievements, unchecked, it can spiral into something far darker, undermining the very foundations it seeks to build. To master the self, we must learn to discern between the healthy pursuit of self-worth and the toxic obsession that consumes. In The Laws of Human Nature, Robert Greene categorizes narcissistic individuals into various archetypes, helping us understand how this trait manifests in different people. The proud narcissist. This is the quintessential narcissistic individual, those who believe they are superior, unique, and destined for greatness. They crave admiration and are often drawn to positions of power. Historical figures like Napoleon Bonaparte or modern-day business and entertainment personalities who thrive on public adulation but react negatively to criticism are prime examples. These individuals may achieve great success through their unwavering self-belief, but their downfall often occurs when their arrogance blinds them to reality. Consider the case of Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos. She presented herself as the next Steve Jobs, but refused to accept criticism or acknowledge the fundamental flaws within her company. Her narcissistic delusions ultimately led to a dramatic collapse. The hidden narcissist. In contrast to the proud narcissist, the hidden narcissist appears humble and self-deprecating, but beneath the surface lies a sense of entitlement and deep resentment. They adopt the role of a victim to seek sympathy while manipulating others subtly. This type often appears in work environments, where they pretend to be the humble colleague, but secretly yearn for recognition and status. For example, a colleague who constantly plays the martyr, recounting the sacrifices they've made for the company while secretly demanding praise, may belong to this group. They might quietly sabotage their co-workers through passive-aggressive behavior, ensuring that they always appear morally superior while covertly manipulating those around them. The narcissistic leader. Greene often discusses how power attracts narcissists, especially in leadership roles. Many successful leaders possess narcissistic traits, which help them capture attention and influence others. However, the difference between a great leader and a tyrant lies in self-awareness. Leaders like Steve Jobs exhibited narcissism, yet they were able to channel it effectively. His relentless pursuit of perfection and innovation drove Apple to success, but his distant and difficult personality also led to alienation among employees. In contrast, tyrants like Joseph Stalin used their narcissism to control and eliminate anyone who challenged their self-proclaimed greatness. This stark distinction is crucial. While narcissism can drive individuals to greatness, it is the self-awareness and control over these tendencies that separates the effective leader from the destructive force. True mastery of oneself lies in the ability to harness one's own strengths without succumbing to the dark pull of unchecked ego. In the journey of self-mastery, one must confront these tendencies, understanding both their power and their potential for destruction. The art of leadership, like all aspects of self-discipline, is not about domination over others, but over oneself. To truly understand the narcissistic individual, one must delve into the psychological mechanisms that drive their behavior. Robert Greene often emphasizes that the narcissist operates from profound insecurities. Beneath the facade of arrogance lies fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of insignificance, or fear of losing control. Here are some of the key mechanisms. Projection. Narcissists often project their own insecurities onto others, accusing them of flaws that they themselves refuse to acknowledge. For instance, a narcissistic boss may call an employee incompetent, all the while struggling with their own failures in leadership. This defense mechanism allows the narcissist to distance themselves from their vulnerabilities by deflecting them onto others. Gaslighting. This psychological manipulation tactic causes others to doubt their perception of reality. A narcissistic partner may deny previous abusive behaviors, making the victim feel as though they imagined the mistreatment. Through this, the narcissist retains control by distorting the truth and eroding the victim's sense of self-trust. Triangulation. Many narcissists create conflict between others to maintain control. For example, a narcissistic manager may tell one employee that another is untrustworthy, sowing discord to keep both employees loyal to them. This tactic ensures the narcissist remains the central figure, manipulating others for their own gain. Love, bombing, and devaluation. Narcissists often shower others with excessive praise in the early stages of a relationship or friendship. Once the other person is emotionally invested, the narcissist begins withdrawing affection, leaving the victim craving validation and approval. This creates a toxic cycle where the narcissist controls the emotional landscape, feeding off the admiration of others. Robert Greene advises that the best way to deal with a narcissist is to maintain strategic distance. Here are some key strategies. Do not feed their ego. Narcissists thrive on validation. If you stop reacting to their need for admiration, they may lose interest in trying to control you. Refusing to indulge their ego prevents them from gaining the power they seek through others' admiration. Set clear boundaries. Be firm about what behaviors you will accept and what you will not. Narcissists often test boundaries in an attempt to control, so maintaining personal limits is crucial. When you allow boundaries to be crossed, you enable further manipulation. Use the mirror neuron rule. Greene explains that humans naturally reflect each other's emotions. If a narcissist tries to provoke you, maintaining composure and remaining unaffected can cause them to lose their balance. By not engaging with their attempts to destabilize you, you rob them of the power they seek through your reaction. Leverage their need for power. Sometimes, dealing with a narcissist requires you to make them believe they are winning, all the while subtly guiding things according to your own agenda. Green calls this the strategic retreat tactic, pretending to concede while silently pursuing your own interests. By making them feel they are in control, you can maneuver toward your objectives without direct confrontation. In navigating the complex terrain of narcissism, understanding these mechanisms and maintaining a firm stance against manipulation is essential. To master oneself is to rise above the illusions of others, and in doing so, we retain control over our own path. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy revolves around the idea of the will to power, a driving force behind ambition, self-overcoming, and human dominance. While Nietzsche did not directly address narcissism in a clinical sense, his critiques of morality, the self, and society provide a theoretical framework to understand both the positive and negative aspects of narcissistic tendencies. By analyzing Nietzsche's works alongside modern psychological insights, we can develop a deeper understanding of narcissism and its implications for both personal development and society. Narcissism is not inherently negative. In fact, a healthy degree of self-love and self-confidence is essential for personal growth. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, Overman, embodies this idea: an individual who transcends societal norms, embraces autonomy, and creates their own values. This healthy form of narcissism is characterized by high self-esteem, ambition, and resilience. Great leaders, artists, and innovators often display narcissistic traits. Steve Jobs, renowned for his grand vision and belief in his genius, exemplified this. Though he could be demanding and arrogant, his self-confidence drove him to revolutionize technology and design. In this sense, Nietzsche's philosophy aligns with the notion that a strong sense of self is essential for achieving greatness. The will to power, when directed toward constructive ends, becomes a catalyst for transformative achievements. One of Nietzsche's most famous statements is, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." This can be applied to the internal struggle of the narcissist, torn between self-assertion and self-destruction. In the quest for recognition, the narcissist often becomes obsessed with maintaining an image of superiority. However, this leads to an internal contradiction. Despite their outward arrogance, they are deeply insecure, fearful of being seen as insignificant, a manifestation of the herd mentality that Nietzsche despised. A contemporary example of this phenomenon can be seen in social media culture. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok amplify narcissistic tendencies, encouraging individuals to curate idealized versions of themselves. Influencers meticulously craft their images to ensure their followers only see perfection. Yet behind the scenes, many of these individuals face anxiety, depression, and imposter syndrome. They become trapped in Nietzsche's concept of the eternal recurrence, endlessly repeating the cycle of self-aggrandizement and self-doubt. However, when narcissism becomes excessive and detached from reality, it transforms into pathological narcissism, marked by arrogance, a fragile ego, a relentless need for recognition, and an inability to form deep emotional connections. On the Genealogy of Morals, Nietzsche critiques slave morality and the herd mentality, offering insights into this phenomenon. He argues that weak individuals, unable to assert their own power, create moral systems to condemn strength and ambition. This moral resentment is evident in the narcissist's tendency to manipulate others, play the victim while simultaneously demanding superiority. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a profound lens through which to view narcissism, not just as a destructive flaw, but as an essential force that can be harnessed for personal growth or, when left unchecked, led to self-destruction. The key lies in mastery over one's own will to power, shaping it into a force that serves not just the self, but the greater good. To overcome narcissism, one must first recognize it within themselves and, like Nietzsche's Übermensch, transcend its limitations. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power is perhaps the most relevant framework for understanding narcissism. The narcissist seeks power, not necessarily in the political or financial realms, but in their relationships and interactions. They manipulate, dominate, and control to preserve their self-image. Consider historical figures such as Napoleon Bonaparte, who embodied the Übermensch as well as the narcissistic ruler. His fierce ambition and belief in his destiny allowed him to reshape Europe. Yet his lack of awareness of his limits ultimately led to his downfall. Similarly, the narcissist often self-sabotages their success because their ego blinds them to reality. Nietzsche warned of unchecked ambition when coupled with a lack of self-awareness. True self-mastery, as he described in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, comes from confronting one's weaknesses, accepting suffering, and growing from it. Yet, the narcissist avoids this process. They evade criticism, refuse self-reflection, and project their flaws onto others. If Nietzsche were to advise a narcissist, he would likely encourage them to engage in a process of self-overcoming. This means facing their fears and insecurities rather than building artificial facades to hide them. The path to genuine self-confidence, according to Nietzsche, lies in accepting hardship, failure, and personal growth. One way to achieve this is through the concept of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Instead of resisting reality, the narcissist, and all of us, should learn to accept and even embrace life's challenges. This requires humility, a trait in direct contrast to narcissism, but essential for true self-improvement. Moreover, Nietzsche's idea of the spirit of freedom suggests that breaking free from societal expectations is key to personal liberation. Rather than constantly seeking validation from others, each individual should cultivate intrinsic self-worth through pursuits of meaning, such as art, philosophy, and self-expression. In this light, narcissism is not merely an issue of self-obsession, but a refusal to confront the deeper, more meaningful elements of life and existence. Nietzsche's philosophy calls us to transcend the ego-driven cycle of self-aggrandizement and engage with the world from a place of genuine strength and self-knowledge. To move beyond narcissism, one must not simply reject the external world's judgments, but also learn to master their inner world, where true power lies. The battle is not against external forces, but against the self, and in overcoming it, one can unlock the freedom to create, to live, and to be. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful lens through which we can understand narcissism. It reveals that, in its healthiest form, narcissism can drive individuals to greatness. However, when left unchecked, it leads to delusions, emptiness, and ultimately, self-destruction. In a world that increasingly glorifies vanity, Nietzsche's call for authenticity and self-overcoming has never been more urgent. To transcend narcissism, we must strive to be more than mere seekers of admiration. We must become creators of meaning, architects of our own fate. Embrace the journey of self-discovery, confront your fears, and build a life that is not based on external validation, but on self-mastery and true purpose. If you found this exploration meaningful, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and follow us as we continue to delve into the depths of philosophy and personal growth. Thank you for watching, and may your path towards self-overcoming be steadfast and resolute.